Chris and Corey met in the summer of 1998.
They tried to make it the summer of '69 and got kicked out of scout camp.
They now tell stories on podcasts under the guise of 80s movies reviews.
You're listening to That's Basically the 80s.
100-pound ballerina that's been speeding for 3 days.
Just open the door and let her pirouette out in the street?
Well, these are just some of the tasks you'll be asked to perform, young Flanagan. This is the Upper East Side, the saloon capital of the world. The big time. Are you ready for the big time, young Mr. Flanagan?
I think I can handle it.
Surprise, motherfuckers.
The big time.
The big time. Corey, you ready for the big time?
Big time.
You want to go up to New York and fucking slap cheeks on the big time alley?
Yeah.
You know where the whiskey saloons are at?
Upper East Side.
The Upper East Side and the... What if we got stuck in the Lower West Side? We went there and we're like, yeah, we're going to the Upper East Side. We're going to fucking...
They're like, good luck, Switchblade. Fuck. What do we drink here? My ass.
Ass. That's fucked up, but...
Don't stab me.
Welcome back to our delayed podcast, everybody. We had a couple of hiccups, as in Chris was fucking dying, and Corey was all fucked up on arthritis.
Yeah, you got the death, and I was alive.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was just this congestion, and then a cough, and then my nose would run, and then it would be dry and crusty, and then it would run and swell, and then it would be like the Sahara, and then all of a sudden I would cough, and then I would sneeze, and then I would get really hot, and then I would get really cold, and then I would say, man, I just don't feel good, and then Carrie would say, quit being a little bitch. Sounds
like a sinus infection.
Yeah, I 100% could get behind that because my sinuses have been fucked up this year. Bad.
So yeah, welcome to That's Basically the 80s, where we talk about our sinuses.
Yeah.
And drinking ass on the Lower West Side of
Corey,
New York
there's
City.
a sinuses that we're going to be awesome in this episode.
All right.
Get it?
No.
So anyways, I'm Chris.
I'm Corey.
This is my BFF from the summer of 98, not 69.
I know.
You know, I mean, some loving happened, and it still does, but...
Summer loving. Right.
Take me away.
I don't think that's any of the words of that song, but...
Summer loving.
Happened so fast. Summer loving.
Corey's gonna eat my ass.
That's like the Garth Brooks extended version where he like, in the thunder rolls. Oh my God, he's gonna sing about it.
Oh, fuck. I didn't know that's what thunder meant.
I love those like songs where the artist like put in the third verse, the like forbidden verse.
Right.
Like the thunder rolls when he's like, and then his wife fucking shot him. And then there's one on...
Is that what happened in Thunder Rolls? Did she fucking...
In the unknown third verse, yeah, she grabs a gun and shoots him.
Is that on the jukebox version?
No, it's just on the live version,
nice.
I think. And then also Friends in Low Places, there's one where he tells her to kiss his ass.
Damn, Big Daddy Garth has got it going on. Isn't he coming to like
to Cheyenne?
Yeah,
I want to go.
We're going to fucking put on our cowboy boots and our cowboy hats and what is it?
They call them shit kickers, I think.
Oh, fuck
I think
yeah.
it's soon.
I know, but we're going to have to look that up and see.
Yeah.
I'll go. Fuck it.
I want to go too.
I got some new cowboy boots.
I just miss like, in the 90s, they used to take their acoustic guitars and like smash them against each other.
Yeah. Whatever happened to that?
He's like old now.
Well, I guess people don't really play guitars anymore in music. They just have a synthesizer and they're just like, and
like
then they've got
our intro music for our show is all synth music.
Yeah, then they got Nicki Minaj back there bouncing her ass, and they're like, well, I don't even fucking need music. Just watch that, you know?
It's basically
her ass makes her own music.
They're like, hold your applause. Oh, wait, never mind. I'm sorry, that was you performing, ma'am. Go ahead.
We stand corrected.
I'm going to sit down, though, if you know what I mean.
Anyways, yeah, that's fucking Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
We better go watch the Thunder Rolls.
That's what happens.
Because we missed it last time. He came, was it 4 or 5 years ago? He came on my anniversary.
Yeah.
I tried to talk Carrie into going, and she's like, I ain't going to fucking watch Garth Brooks on my anniversary.
You probably came on your anniversary, too, though.
Probably. I mean, yeah. Anyways, we watched Cocktail.
Yep.
And
the best 1980s movie about
flare bars
in New York City, starring Tom Cruise
and Jamaica. Yeah, I mean, because there's a lot of them about just New York, but this one stood out because they threw in a little bit of Jamaica, you know, and it was a badass resort in Jamaica. You only ever saw the bar and a little bit of the beach. You saw some ass cheeks.
Oh, there was a waterfall.
And then a waterfall.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. Probably the best part of the movie. I mean, who doesn't love waterfalls? TLC, maybe?
Yeah, just them and no one else.
Probably. I think so.
But yeah, fucking Cocktail. I like the movie.
Yeah, I'd never seen it before. Surprisingly, I thought I did. There's a lot of movies from the 80s that I've seen a million times. And then there's some that I've seen a handful.
Right.
And then there's others I was like, have I seen that? I mean, I'm fucking old. I've seen a lot of movies. I like Tom Cruise. I've probably seen that. And I was like, no, I didn't see this.
Right.
But now that I've seen it, I knew that I should have seen it before. Just because Elizabeth Shue.
Right.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's really pretty.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have the little quote at the beginning of the movie, or at the beginning of the show, and I went on YouTube and I was like, cocktail movie quotes, and then the first thing that popped up was cocktail bar scene, and I was like, the fuck are you talking about? The entire movie's the bar scene. What are you going to be like Armageddon, the space shuttle, and asteroid scenes?
Yeah.
Fucking
Space Jam, them playing basketball scene.
right. Oh, what's another one?
Rambo shooting a gun scene.
Yeah. Attica, the prison scene.
Waterworld when they're on a boat.
Waterworld, all underwater scenes. Fucking people. I mean, like, they had the quote I wanted, but of course they did. Cause
here's a shot of them in a
exactly what I
bar.
was looking for.
Hey, I was thinking about putting a scene on YouTube about us being in a bar. What should I do? I mean, how hard would that be to get?
Right.
Well, I don't know. We only shoot our scenes in a bar. It'd be like them recording us in our podcast room. It'd be like Chris and Corey in podcast room.
Yep. All podcast scenes. Driving Miss Daisy, all driving scenes.
Yeah.
Family Matters, all scenes where Carl Winslow has a mustache.
Wow. That's awesome. I love you, Carl Winslow.
So yeah, how's the movie start out? He gets out of the war.
Yeah, his friends are driving him and they run down the Greyhound bus.
Yeah.
Which is fairly unrealistic. I guess maybe back in the 80s it wasn't, but now if a fucking car is trying to run over a Greyhound bus, they're fucking calling in the helicopter SWAT, you know?
They're going to get mowed down quick.
Yeah.
That was back in the day. Now you can't do that shit. But
Yeah.
yeah, because I was like, what are they doing? And I thought they were trying to get like some honeys or something.
Right, I thought there was some hot girls and
Yeah.
they're like, hey, fucking pull over, you know, we got a Impala.
Right.
So, but no, it was just like, oh, fuck you, you're out of the army, get on this bus, we hate you.
So
And-
yeah, he hopped on the bus and then he hopped out of the bus in his hometown of,
New York or below New York. He was
Yep.
somewhere on the outskirts of New York.
yeah, like outside of New York City. And then he went to go visit his uncle at the bar, right?
Right.
And he's like, what's up, uncle? I'm back from the war. And he's like, apparently.
Yeah, fucking pour me a drink. Oh, have a beer. And then he pours himself a beer and he's like, that's $2.
He's
He's
like,
like-
what? You're not going to give me a drink? And he's like, you ain't never going to get rich giving people stuff. Look, that's my best friend in the entire world. I ain't never given him shit.
He asked me to give him a free drink and I hit him with a fucking club.
Right?
Right?
And he's over there like, yeah,
He just has a weird twitch.
he's a really great friend.
Then he goes to give him $10 and then he goes to give it to his friend and he fucking steals it back again. He's like,
Yeah.
fuck you, friend.
Right? Yeah, because he's like, here's $10 for the drink. And he's like, no, keep it. And then he's like, here you go. And he tries to give it to the old guy.
Right, he's like, the next
he
one's on
grabs it
me.
Back. Yeah.
And he's like, never, when you own a bar, have any drinks on the house. That's how you don't make money.
And then he's like, well, that's your opinion, man.
Yeah. Which, I mean, he looks like he has a fairly successful bar. There's about 6 people in there and he's drinking beer and
It's like a dusty old Midwestern bar.
hell yeah.
Garth Brooks on the jukebox.
I'd probably go there. I
Yeah.
mean, his beer was only $1,
Right.
so
But with inflation, that's like
$18.
$18 or something.
Probably like 3 or 4.
Right.
Because you go get a beer now and it's, well, depends. If you go where we're at, it's about $3. Anywhere from $2.50 to $4, depending on the beer and everything. You go down to Salt Lake, which is a bigger city that's 3 hours away, you're probably looking at $8. So I guess it kind of depends on where you're at. Plus, Utah has that weird alcohol tax. They're like, if you drink, you're going to hell, so we got to pay for your Satan tax.
Plus travel time. Like
Yeah.
you have to drive 3 hours to get that beer and 3 hours back.
And you have to order dinner because you can't just go and just get a beer. You have to have dinner and dessert and a hotel reservation, and you have to have a cab ride paid in advance and the slip turned in, and
They make a lot more money that way. Smart.
so I don't know. I don't know if it's smart or
It's like
just-
smart from like a exploitation standpoint, not from a
oh yeah, if you were like a mobster, that's what you would do.
Right.
That's like mob control there, I believe. So
right. Well, I mean, it is a cult.
yeah, it's just true.
So, I mean, if you were like
Shout out to all of our friends from Utah.
if you were a devout Mormon and you got this far in the podcast and then you got offended that I called it a cult when I was talking about drinking man ass, 17 minutes or 10 minutes ago, and, get your priorities straight.
No, then congratulations, because
Right.
you're just as fucked up as us.
So, but yeah, so he's like, no, I'm going to make it. I ain't going to open a bar. I'm going to go become a
Fucking businessman. I'm going to
businessman.
college.
And then he goes into New York, and it's like just one of those scenes where they like play some music, and then he goes around to all the jobs, and he's like, "Hire me, bitch! I can do anything." And
He's
they're
like,
like,
I can trade stocks.
He's
I
like,
can
"We need experience."
sweep the floor. I can do, and everybody's like, no, get the fuck out. You need college. You need this. He's like, bitch, I was just in the army
Right.
forever. I've got all this personal experience, but didn't have that little stamp that said college approved.
Yeah, I've been to the school. Do you need someone that can run down a Greyhound bus? Because I did it once.
Yeah. Do you have a degree in that?
No.
All right. Get out.
Come
Come back when you have 8 years of experience.
right. So then he's all like dejected and stuff. He's like, "Fuck."
That's kind of always fucked me up, to like interrupt you a little bit, when people constantly put jobs up, be like, oh, you can come and work at this mine, but we need to have previous 4 years of mining experience. Every fucking mine says you need to have 4 years of mining experience. How are you going to get 4 years of mining experience
Exactly.
if every mine requires 4 years of mining experience?
Yep. It's like you can draw like a circle and then write the words around the circle that's like, I can't get a job because I don't have experience. I can't get experience because I don't have a job.
Right? It's
so
like
it's
having
like-
a basketball camp. Be like, oh, we're having a basketball camp for beginners, but you can only come if you've played basketball for 10 years.
Right.
It's like,
Or I saw this thing. I was actually just kind of reading a bunch of things about this on Reddit earlier today. And this guy was talking about how he had applied for a job. And he's like, so this is interesting. I applied for this job, and the job wanted me to have 4 years of experience coding this certain type of like coding software. And he's like, and I couldn't apply for the job because I built that coding software a year and a half ago. It was the guy who developed the actual coding software. He made it himself a year and a half ago. And the company that was hiring said that the people that got that job needed to have 4 years experience in that
so
coding.
the coding hasn't even been around for 4
Right.
years?
And he was the inventor of it and wasn't qualified for the job because he didn't have 4 years experience in it. It's like, how do recruiters come up with this shit?
Right? And it's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you want to go be a bagger at the grocery store, and they'll be like, well, how many grocery stores have you bagged at before? Well, none.
Fucking
I
none.
just turned 16, and this is my first job in high school that I want to do part-time. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Or like entry level position, $11 an hour, master's degree required. Like, what the fuck? So, and like in the 50s, it was like, oh, you want a job? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, when
Here's a
like the
pension,
mine that
too.
I work at, they were literally just, that was the requirement. Can you fucking breathe and stand up? Yeah, you
can?
can have a job.
Fuck yeah. We'll build you a house
They
too.
were hiring people left and right, and then a lot of people left. Like, and they were getting. I think they were getting paid like $4 or $5 an hour, maybe. But this was. It opened in the 50s,
Right.
and
That's
then
like $7,000 an hour now.
yeah, it's a lot. So
So anybody that's new to the podcast, one of our first podcasts, we asked about, you posed the question to me about like how much something from the
it was in
80s
Ferris
cost.
Bueller's.
So it was our first episode.
Yeah, it was his like sound system in there.
Oh,
Costed
yeah, yeah.
like $2,000 in 80s time.
Right. And I was like, that's like $100,000 in today's time.
Right, and it was actually like 10,000.
Right.
But
So we just always super inflate any costs from in the past.
I mean, because the 80 was 41 years away now,
Right.
I think.
fucked
Yeah,
up.
I'm pretty sure that my math is sound on that. I mean, it's been a while since I've been to school. I don't have experience anymore in math. If I tried to get a job doing math, they would say, "What, do you got 10 years experience?" Yeah, 40 years ago. Wait, what? I don't know, 20 years ago.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, so we were
Yeah, that was a long tangent about jobs.
I think it needed to be said,
It
though.
does need to be said, yeah.
Just these guys need to fucking think a little bit before they keep posting this shit.
Or like a recruiter that's like highly competitive wage. Oh, is it? Fucking tell me what it is before I apply then.
So speaking of that, I went to, when I was 18, I lived in Laramie for a little bit, and I was looking for a job. And then they put an advertisement. It was for a truck washing company. You know, you just go and you just wash semi-trucks, whatever. And I was 18. I was looking for anything. So I went and talked to them, and I applied. And in the ad, it says, get paid up to $10 an hour. And they were like, so what would your wage want to be? I'm like, well,
Fucking
$10
$10
an hour. And they laughed at me.
Really?
They laughed at me. They were like, oh, you're not going to get $10 an hour. If you wash X amount of trucks and stuff, then we'll start to give you bonuses. And I was like, whatever, man, fuck you. And I left. I didn't ever even go back. It's like, you put it in your paper that says $10 an hour, and then I say, oh, well, your ad says I want this $10 an hour. And then you laugh at me. It's like,
that's ridiculous.
Whatever, dude, get somebody else. And they did, you know, but...
So like the inverse of that, I heard this story about someone that I know recently, and they have worked for a long time as somebody that like changes tires on trucks and stuff. And then they stopped working there and they were working somewhere else. And then their dad was like, hey, you should go out to this new truck stop that just opened in our local town. They're hiring like $20 an hour to do tire maintenance on semis out there. And then the kid was like, well, I don't know anything about changing semi tires. And then like the dad was just like, they're like fucking tires, but just bigger.
Imagine this tire on this truck.
Right?
Just a little bit bigger.
Just imagine like, you know tires, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I know tires. Now picture them just a bit bigger. Shit, that's all?
Can you imagine this, a fucking ad in the newspaper for a fluffer? Be like, oh, we're hiring a fluffer. You can make up to $60,000 a year, depending on experience. And be like, man, I got fucking lots of experience. You know,
like, do you have lots of experience or like years or length? And you're like, I mean, fucking years, right?
Years, but you know, if you add it up over time, you know, and they're like, well, I mean, fuck, sounds like you're pretty good at it. So here you go. You know, that's the kind of
you can get up to $10 an hour.
That's literally hands-on experience.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, cocktail.
I mean, fuck, we're 20 minutes into this thing. We haven't talked about it at all, but it's awesome. I mean, we've been having fun.
This is what we do with this podcast, though, and
we'll hit cocktail in the second half.
Yep.
You know, because there's some key things in this movie that I want to talk about for sure. I mean, there's some scenes with Tom Cruise and Gina and Elizabeth Shue. Mm-hmm. I didn't say Gina's last name because I always fuck it up.
Gershon.
Yep, Gershon. Good job. And you know,
Flanagan. Wait, that's his name. What's the fucking
Doug
Irish guy's name?
His friend, Jesus. His friend?
Yeah, his friend
Doug.
Jesus. Doug? His name's Doug?
Yeah, he's like, I'll be your Doug.
Yeah. That's where they got that from.
Yeah, it's Doug.
Nice.
A Doogie, a Dugans, Dougray. If your name was Doug, what the fuck would you do? Be like, oh yeah, my kids, like imagine you're 30
right,
or 28 right now, and somebody's like, oh, how'd you get that name Doug? I don't know, man. My parents just fucking watched a lot of Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd dress up as Quail Man.
Yeah.
Can you name clap some Patty Mayonnaise cheeks?
What's a more bland name than Doug?
Skeeter?
No, Skeeter. So picture this.
Okay.
You've got Doug. Right? And then his best friend's name is Skeeter. Mm-hmm. And his girlfriend's name is Patty Mayonnaise. It's like, come on. What was his dog's name? Like Fluffer or something?
Butter.
Peanut Butter? Yeah. It's like, there's all those innuendos in there. Fucking Nickelodeon had it going back in the day.
That was the 90s. Oh, there's a new documentary called Nickelodeon The Orange Years that I really want to watch.
Is it about like the 90s? Ren and Stimpy?
Like remember like the Nickelodeon studios was completely painted orange?
Right.
And they like all those years, yeah.
Nice.
So I really want to watch it. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about either.
Nothing at all, but none of this has had anything to do with it, but it's been fun.
So before we get into the second half, Tom Cruise didn't get a job.
Right,
so then he's walking down the road.
That's what started all this. Yeah, he's fucking pissed.
And then he's like, oh, this fucking place is hiring for a job. And he walks in, and then Doug's all hungover as hell. And he's like, turn the music down. And then they're like, there's no music. And he's like, fuck, I need some eggs. And then he cracks open an egg into a red beer. And he's like, what the fuck do you want? And Tom Cruise is like, a job?
Isn't that like called an Irish bomber or fucking...
Well, Irish car bomb is...
Yeah, I know the Irish car bomb, but
different.
There's a different name for that stupid... They said it a couple of times in the movie, but it's just beer tomato juice and a fucking raw egg in
Yeah,
there.
that's gross.
Yeah.
I mean, I like beer and tomato juice together, but I don't like raw eggs in it.
How do you know?
I mean, I just don't know. I probably would like it because I like sunny side up eggs.
You ever tried a raw egg?
Yeah.
You remember our friend Steve?
Yeah.
The other day, conned him into drinking a raw egg.
I remember.
And he almost puked on me.
Yeah.
It was so funny. He's like, oh, I don't know how. I can't remember. It was some kind of bet, and he lost it. And he had to chug this raw egg, and he fucking did it. But he had a puke bag ready.
Yeah.
And then he just...
It was because if you could hold it with your tiny hands and get
my
all the
tiny
way
hands.
across, because I made a Marco Polo about it.
Oh, that's right. We had a little bet. He said if I could get this egg out of the fridge and carry it all the way over
You had
and
to
whatever.
open doors and shit, and you were like putting it down and picking it up, and
And I did it. And so he had to eat that raw egg, and then he chugged it, and then he looks at me, and he's all like, I was like, fuck. I was cheering for him, man. I wanted to see him puke, but Steve never did, so.
Fuck you, CPA Steve.
Yeah.
Does he listen to these?
He says he does. He better. If he doesn't, then he can fuck off.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he goes in, meets Doug, has the red beer.
Mm-hmm. And then he's like, "You're hired."
He's like, well, what am I doing? Like sucking dick or what?
Right. He's like, "Fucking whatever." But then he's like, "Be here Friday." And so he gets there, and he's trying to work and everything. And he's like, the lady's like, "I want a Bud Light." And he's like, "Fuck, what's in that drink again?" And everything. And then like they're all like harassing him and stuff. And he's like, "Shut the fuck up, you bitch."
Well, she's like, she comes up there and she's like, I want a Santa Monica roller coaster with a backwards twist and a flip flop on the side, you know?
Right.
And then he's like, why the fuck didn't you just say that was a rum and coke?
Right. God damn.
Bitch.
Yeah. He's like, "You fucking bitch." And then like that night, she's like, "Here's all your money. You get 10% of whatever our tips are and stuff." And then Doug's like, "Dude, if she gave you money, then she likes you." And then he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry I called you a bitch." And she's like, "Don't be sorry. I am a bitch, motherfucker."
they all worked well together,
Right.
you know, because they busted his balls. It was hard on him.
Yeah, they were like
But-
putting him through the flames to make sure that he would be.
And then he got
Awesome.
it. Then
And
they
he was- yeah.
they were flipping bottles and throwing beer caps and talking shit and hitting on girls.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be like flipping a bottle behind their head while with one eye looking at the titties of the hot girl at the other side of the bar, you know?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people can do flare bars and
Mm-hmm.
flip shit around, but if you can flare bar and stare down the titties at the same time,
Yeah, you flip over a bottle and then you eye fuck a girl or a guy,
yeah,
anybody. You just eye fuck the whole bar, and then your friend catches the bottle behind you and then pours it out.
and then you shoot some finger guns maybe.
Uh-huh.
I think then all of a sudden, like,
Everybody else shoots their finger guns.
Yeah.
Like, God damn, that was exciting.
money comes on the bar,
Uh-huh.
and then like a couple people pass out,
Yeah,
and then I think at least two people are probably pregnant.
right.
You know,
Panties
it's
start
just
dropping.
yeah, it's
Fucked up.
It's a wild roller coaster, but when it happens, it's a work of art.
Right. That's just how that shit goes.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, like I said, anybody can flip a bottle, but
Yeah, but can you get someone pregnant as the bottle's in the air
right.
without
but
touching
but
them?
you do need a friend also. I mean, it's a team operation.
Yeah. You can't do that by yourself. Well, Patrick Swayze could.
Patrick Swayze could, and yeah, probably just Patrick Swayze.
Only just him.
Maybe Mr. Miyagi, but
So, anyways, he's like, "Fuck, I'm really good at throwing bottles."
right.
And then him and Doug, they go walking off. And so at first, Tom Cruise is like, "No, I'll just stick to a beer." And then Doug's like,
Beers for
"Bitch,
breakfast.
Beers for breakfast. We drink whiskey tonight." And then he gets all fucked up on whiskey, and they're walking down the road and everything. And Doug's telling him, he's like, "You got what it takes, man. Like, you can be a real motherfucker." And he's like, but then Tom Cruise is like, "Oh, I'm going to throw up." And he's like, No, young Flanagan, we don't throw up. You got to handle
You don't
your
throw up
shit."
in public. You don't pass out in public.
Right. And so then they're walking to the subway, and then Doug falls all the way down the stairs, and he's like, "Oh my God, Doug, are you dead?" And then he's like, he gets up and he's like, "Oh fuck, I fucked up," and he ran back upstairs, and he's like, "You can fall down some motherfucking stairs when you're drunk. That's okay."
That's okay. That's on point.
right.
You know.
And so
He's like, I did that with style.
right. So that just kind of sets like the whole tone for the second half of the movie when we actually talk about the movie.
So should we take a break right there and then come back and see where it goes?
Hell yeah.
All right. Here's to them commercials.
Yep. After these messages, we'll be right back.
Dude, Chris,
What's up?
do you know what I fucking miss?
What's that?
Gold doubloons. You know why?
Why?
Because I fucking love them. Do you know my favorite thing about gold doubloons? Collecting them. Because do you know what that means? You're fucking rich. Do you know how to get rich?
How?
Well, you make podcasts.
Like us?
Right? Do you know how you get rich making podcasts?
Use.
You fucking download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And do you know what you do after that? You get that fucking gold doubloons.
Gold doubloons.
Gold doubloons. You gather them all together, and you know what you do? You fucking try to spend them, and then they're like, we don't accept gold doubloons here. And you're like, well, fucking I'll go to some place that exchanges them, and then I'll get some cash.
And then you get like
Some fucking cash.
$400 a piece.
Yeah.
Nice.
That'd be cool. Like, I would like to exchange 2 gold doubloons, and they're like, well, that's $800 cash. And you're like, all right, give me them fucking Benjamins. How much is a Benjamin?
$100.
Yep. How much is a 50? Is that a Franklin?
That's a grant.
Oh, yeah. Put me on them grants, bitch.
Wait. Yeah. a
Yeah.
grant.
Who's Hamilton's a 20, right?
10.
Oh, fuck. Who's a 20?
Jackson.
I obviously don't know. You talk about a George Washington, and I know that's a $1 bill.
Do you want to shoot this whole thing over?
No.
Okay.
Anchor.fm. All right. We are back from that commercial, and
Are we back in black?
I'm wearing no black. Well, there's black on my shoes.
You're wearing khakis like Jake from State Farm.
Khakis.
Well, you sound hideous.
Well, she sounds hideous. Well, she's a guy, so.
Anyways, go ahead. That's what we
but-
do. We constantly interrupt each other and make us forget what we're talking
Right.
about.
I mean, fucking, we almost have 4,000 listens, so, you know, you guys are listening to us, so whatever. But before we jump back into the movie, a couple things. I wanted to jump into some shout outs. We like to kind of shout out some of our friends and things we're working on and different podcasts and people that we've been interacting with online during the show. And then after that, we're going to do another little segment. But a couple different shout outs I had was our friends Horror Dads.
Not horror dads.
No.
I mean, they might be, but
Could
you know,
be, whatever. Like pay to play,
that's right. I mean, we do pay them.
Horror Dads, they are a horror-based podcast, so we are planning on working with them. We were supposed to meet with them, but like you said, I've been dead on arthritis. You've been dead on sinuses.
Yeah, so I just want to throw out a big apology to the horror dads real quick because we've been putting them off, but I've been sick as fuck. Like, bad. Like,
I've been
being
sick.
a little bitch. Like, to the point where my wife was like, Chris, you're fucking...
Yeah.
You need to get up and just do something. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
you've been so sick that Disturbed was just like texting you, like, "Can I write a song about you?"
Yeah, they were like, "Are you
Oh,
down?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I know
So-
who this is.
so-
It's just based on.
So horror dads, we're not fucking dodging you. I was literally dying. I had to take Tylenol. I mean, so anyways, continue, Corey.
I just take Tylenol. So yeah, we got Horror Dads. Wanted to shout out. I really always like shouting out a couple of our other friends. Reverie True Crime Podcast, really like them. Vintage Video Podcast. I just literally like chat with them all the time. I'll just be on Twitter. What up, man? Text me back. Just fucking doing life, man. What are you doing? I'm like, just fucking doing life, man. That's just that shit.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to talk to those people.
You gotta talk to them people.
Just got to say, hey, what up? And they'll be like, yeah, I mean, fucking we're just doing stuff too.
Right. And then we're gonna do something with them sometime soon. So I'm calling you guys out. Hit us up. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, when Chris isn't dying and being a bitch.
Mm-hmm. And then Dad's on Dayquil. They're always doing that shit. And who else we got? Those are my very best good friends. Oh, Insanely Dangerous Retro Podcast. Those motherfuckers are awesome. I don't know if you've listened to them yet, but
I haven't listened to those guys yet.
it's a wild ride.
All right, I'll check them out.
Do it.
mean-
And if you want us to talk about you on this show and you're hearing this, then just tell us.
Yeah, send us a message.
Mhm.
Chat with us a little bit. Speaking of that, let me check real quick. I had a listener from Great Britain hit us up and say, hey, I was just looking for some new podcasts and you guys really fucking just were my style. And let me see what I can find here. I want to do a shout out. I should have been more prepared for this, but
It's okay. We've
It
only
is-
had like a week and a half.
yeah. So on Instagram, A_sad_body, Lucy from Great Britain, England, Kent, England, just sent us a message, said she was following us and just really appreciated us, said that she was just
All about that
Just, yeah,
shit?
she said she just needed some new stuff for her ears and came across us and was like, yeah, you guys are definitely my style. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, we're fucked up, but, you know, we're real. And she says, yeah, you guys are fucked up, but so am I. And I liked it. So, yeah, so just send us some DMs. If you comment and send us some DMs, we'll shout you out. And then you'll get one of our 4,000 listens will hear your name. They may go look you up. I don't know.
Hell yes. So, with that being said, let's jump into a segment that we like to do in between the break of the movie that we're recording, where you kind of just hit me with a movie that is outside of the 80s. Maybe it's 90s or 2000s or 2010s.
Right, for sure.
And then I really don't know what's going on with the movie, and then maybe we talk about it, maybe we don't.
Right, because our first half, I mean, we really dove deep into Cocktail.
We kind
I
of
mean, we really broke
it
down.
regurgitated it, recrafted it, and presented it to you.
Right, you don't even have to watch the movie now because we basically have explained it to you.
Tom Cruise gets a job.
Right. So I'm going to move into this. It's a early 2000s movie. It's starring some big actors. It's got George Clooney.
All right.
It's got John Turturro.
Yep.
John Goodman.
Okay.
It's
I
got
already know where you're at.
It's got the devil.
It does.
It has some badass songs.
I'm a Dapper Dan man.
That's right. It's got some hair jelly.
Yep.
I want to know what it is that you like, hate, love. Oh, brother, where art thou?
Okay. This is
Isn't
what
that a Coen brother movie?
Yep.
Okay.
It is. Let me tell you all the things I hate about the movie.
Not a damn thing.
Not a damn thing. What do I love about the movie? The whole fucking movie.
Beginning to end.
Oh, it's so good. Like, how many times do I just quote that movie by myself around people that don't even know what I'm talking about? Anything. Sometimes you're just sitting there and you'll be like, is you is or is you ain't my constituents.
Sometimes I look at people and I'm like, you're a goddamn geological anomaly.
Yeah. Yeah, what did he say? You're 20 miles from everywhere.
2 weeks from
2
everywhere.
weeks from everywhere. You goddamn geological. No. Like the Coen brothers have that way of writing a movie, and then they casted the perfect group of people to just deliver those lines just so perfectly. You know, where like when his ex-wife is like, he's bona fide.
Yeah.
He's just all pissed at her, like
bona fide. And then the guy comes out. He's like, don't you talk about my fiance that way. Well,
Right.
don't you marry my wife.
don't you marry my wife? Oh God, it's so funny. But it kind of has like this whole thing where they are they're kind of being like hunted the whole time,
Right.
by like the warden and stuff like that. And it kind of reminds me of Raising Arizona, because like the whole time in Raising Arizona they're being hunted as well.
Right, for sure. And the Coen brothers did Raising Arizona, right?
And
I was actually going to bring that up because John Goodman's character, I think it was the same fucking person from Raising Arizona in this, because he was a talker. In Raising Arizona was like a salesman, like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we need this Bud Heavy, and we're, all he did was just talk. And then that's what he did in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Right.
He's like, oh, I see you have the gift of gab, right? And he talks these guys up, and then he fucking finds the box, and there's just a toad in there and squishes it, right? Then beats him up. So, yeah, I had the same feel
right.
as far as that goes. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, there's just some really really iconic and great moments in the movie. I really love the whole scene when they kind of go down to the river and the women are down there doing like the bathing and everything, and he's like they loved him up and turned him into a horny toad.
That's one of my favorite parts, because that's the sirens, because this is based on, like, this is loosely based off the Odyssey, right? And at one point they end up with the sirens, and they're constantly trying to seduce him and trick him and take him and everything, right? And then I just think of John Turturro's character, and it's like, that probably would be Chris. At least back in the day, man, I'd be like, oh, fuck. They're sitting there singing, and they're crawling out of the water, and they're sexy, and they're like, here, have a couple shots of whiskey and this, and they're like, oh, Yeah, I probably would just fall into that, you know?
Oh, you definitely would.
And then I'd be gone. And you guys be like, where the fuck did he go? And I'd be like, he turned into a horny toad. But no, then they would just take me off and turn me in, you know? I'd be like, I'm in prison, Chris. Was it worth it? I mean, it wasn't not worth it.
I mean, it was definitely something. What does he say when he's like, I'm a Dapper Dan man, damn it. What does he say we have?
I don't want fop, god damn it. I'm a Dapper Dan man.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to ask you to watch your language. This is a family establishment. Because he's trying to get some hair gel and some hair nets. And then he says, you got any hair nets? And he's like, he kind of looks at him like, are you fucking fruity, you know?
Right.
Anyways.
Do not seek the treasure.
Anyways, if you haven't watched Oh Brother Where Art Thou, then you're wrong.
Well, I can't imagine anybody hasn't seen it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
That's definitely the 2000s.
Yep. You did it.
Nice. And we're back reviewing Cocktail, starring Tom Cruise, Elizabeth Shue, and some other people.
Gina Gershon.
And
a guy.
And fucking Doug.
And Doug.
I'll be your Doug. I love that.
So yeah, he's got the job. Where we left off was he was just like, oh shit, I'm a good bartender. And then
that's
Doug's
when that guy comes up.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say a random guy from the bar says, "Hey, you guys should come work for me."
Oh yeah, he's like, I want you guys. You guys shouldn't be working at this shithole. Come work for me. And he's like, okay, motherfucker.
Then they go to the cell block.
They go to the cell block, and it's like a badass kind of like weird,
like nightclub.
Right.
It looks like a prison, and it's actually a pretty cool concept for a fucking club.
It did look cool. It looked like it took an hour to get a drink for sure.
Oh yeah, that's the kind of place that would really make Chris angry.
Yeah, you would not like that at all. But they're there
when Chris wants his drink. He wants it now,
and everybody is they're like doing interviews and doing like this and that, and everyone's doing like street poet, and they're like, "That's an awfully hot coffee pot." That's Eminem, by the way. And
if you're hot, I'll stick my.
So then Tom Cruise is like, "What the fuck, man? No one's drinking." So he jumps up on the bar and he's like, "Hey, come!" He does like a
little poem.
A little poem. He's like, "Old Mrs. Hubbard lived in a cupboard, drank some fucking beers." And some vodka.
But if you want to get fucked up, have a shot.
Right.
And then he's like, the bar's open.
And then they're like, oh, hell yeah. And then Gina Gershon's like, man, I want to fuck you. And Tom Cruise is like, they don't call me fucking Maverick for nothing.
They don't call me fuck Nugget for nothing.
Yeah. And so then they have sex. And
that is the first, like, we did see a little bit of nipple there. Just a little warning for the children. there is some titty.
And then he comes back and he comes strutting in. He's like, "Fucking,
I'm gonna marry this bitch.
Life is easy, man." And then Doug's like, "You got me all fucked up. You think that one lady?" And he's like, "I bet you in 1 week you ain't with her anymore." And he's like, "I'll take that bet. $100." And then
it was 50, wasn't it?
It was $50, yeah. And then like 20 minutes later, he's over there like banging her on the counter, and he's like, "I told you, motherfucker."
Nobody fucks with the Doug.
He's like, "Really?" He's like, $50 is $50, man. And then they he punches him. He gets in a fight, and then he's like, "Whatever, I'm moving to Costa Rica,
Jamaica."
Yeah. He's like, "You're making me crazy. I'm leaving." But before that, because he's in college. And he's trying to go to college and be a bartender, and he keeps falling asleep in class. And eventually, Doug's like, "Look, you're a bartender. Quit going to college."
Right. And the college professor's like, "Oh, what's your business plan?" And he's like, "Well,
I'm gonna make a lot of money.
I'm gonna open a bunch of fucking bars, and we're gonna franchise them." And the guy's like, "Whatever, bitch." And he's like, "Well, you just teach at this stupid fucking college, you know." And so they got in a fight and whatever. And Tom Cruise does what Tom Cruise does, and.
So he kind of
goes to Jamaica.
Yeah, he proposes the idea to Doug, like, let's go to Jamaica and make a lot of money. And then Doug's like, no, all the money's here. And so they get in that fight at the bar. And then Flanagan, Tom Cruise is like, I'm out. I'm heading to Costa Rica.
2 years later, and it's still Jamaica, not Costa Rica.
Yep. Fast forward 2 years later, he's in Jamaica.
Yep.
And he's just fucking throwing them bottles around. He's getting his shit done.
And that's when Karate Girl.
Yep, Elizabeth Shue shows up, and she is hot.
She is not bad to look at.
I love Elizabeth Shue. If you're listening, hi.
You were awesome in Karate Kid, and you were awesome in Cocktail,
And the new remake of Karate Kid. And every other
and
movie you've been in.
you were awesome in
I would be awesome in you.
The Boys. Anyways,
I would get an Academy Award, you know.
so he's hitting her up,
Mhm.
and then fucking Doug out of nowhere shows up, and Doug's like, "Oh fuck, tell this guy I want an Alabama Slammer." Right?
He did say an Alabama Slammer, didn't he?
During his poem, yeah.
Oh,
Someday,
that was at the end, yeah.
yeah. During his poem at the fucking
When his twins
at
were
the cell
born.
block. No,
Oh, it
because he was
so
naming a
long.
bunch of drinks, the
Yeah.
sex on the beach and the orgasm, and
Alabama
that's what
Slammer.
got Gina Gershon.
Uh-huh.
He's like, "Oh, I'll give you the orgasm," and she's like, "Fuck, I'll take two."
Oh, damn. Yeah, I want two. And he's like, well, you only get one.
Well, I mean, I'll get one.
7 or 8 hours later, you can have another one.
So,
The bar is still open. She's like, is that an erectile dysfunction joke? And he's like, hey, you gonna find out?
I mean, I drink a lot,
You gonna find out?
and so so Doug shows up, and then so he fucks with him a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, give me this drink,"
Uh-huh.
right? And then he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
Right.
Right? And then he's trying to hit on Elizabeth Shue, and she sees through his bullshit right away because she's not a bimbo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, "Look, this fucking guy, I guarantee, has a self-help book underneath that counter somewhere. I'll bet you $50. It's $50, right?"
He's like, motherfucker, $50 is my downfall. He's like, look at what I got.
And it's like,
It's like,
"It's
Dr. Phil,
okay if
you
it
can do
takes 7 hours."
Yeah. It's not your fault, it's hers.
And so then he's like, "Well, fuck, man, I got married." And then he shows his girlfriend or his wife over there. And I'm not going to lie. If I was a 40 plus bartender that's been just like in and out and whatever,
Mhm.
and then this rich girl that constantly showed her cheeks to everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, they were good. I mean, were there any complaints on the booty cheeks on
Nope.
this? And she's like, "Well, let's get married to piss off my parents." I probably would just be like,
Yeah. When's the wedding?
I mean, there's
else can I
there's
do?
a preacher right there. I'd be yelling in the bar, "Is anybody a minister?"
Right. Let's have sex right now to piss off your parents. Do you know what would really make your parents mad if we did anal? They would probably hate it, right?
So Doug made the right choice.
Right.
I mean, she obviously, we find out later that because she hits on
Yeah.
Flanagan
She's just
and,
fucking around.
and she's kissing everybody and everything. But
He don't care.
Doug,
He got it.
I mean, Doug is Doug. I
Right.
mean, he did what he did. So anyway, so he talks his shit, and then so we move on to the love interest between Flanagan and
Tom Cruise and Elizabeth Shue.
Yep.
Yep.
And then let's talk a little about that.
So yeah, Tom Cruise is like a sexy motherfucker, and he's all like throwing her drinks and everything, and she's like, "Man, do you always treat all ladies this way?" And he's like, "I don't know, find out."
I mean, fuck.
And then they go
How
on
much
like
you
a
tipping?
horseback ride the next day.
Oh yeah, they raced the horses down the beach, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, "Fuck, I didn't even know you could do that." And you were like,
Right.
"That's the only place you do that."
Yeah, you're like, I didn't know that they did like horseback riding on the beach, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the only place I've ever known people to go horseback
Well,
riding.
the thing is I've never horseback ridden. I don't know why.
Right.
I just don't think that I want to because I don't want to fall off of them.
That would hurt.
But I've been to a beach. It's been a while. I haven't been to the ocean since I was a kid. But I don't know. Maybe if I went to the beach and there was a horse there,
It's
and
not
Elizabeth,
true.
she was like,
We went to the ocean when we were in Seattle.
"Yeah, but we never got out of the car and went there." I mean,
True.
we were fucked up still.
We were still fucked up.
Even if we went to the ocean, I don't remember. I wouldn't know.
What the fuck? Is that the ocean?
It's so tiny.
Just looks
That's
like
what
some
she said.
Water.
I'm fucking drowning in the toilet, man. Oh,
man.
fuck, man. We went to the ocean last night. No, Corey, you fucking drowned in the toilet. Anyways, that was random. So let's fast forward a little bit. Tom Cruise and Elizabeth Shue are hanging out on the waterfall.
Mhm.
They're swimming and stuff, right?
Yep.
And so let's talk about the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I want to be in a waterfall with Elizabeth Shue.
I mean, I would go in a waterfall with Gina Gershon too, because
Mhm.
actually my first experience with Gina Gershon was Showgirls.
Right.
And I don't know if
Wasn't
you
your
were-
wife like, she's in Showgirls, and you're like, I know.
No, you were.
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, "Isn't that Gina somebody or whatever?" And you're like, "Gina Gershon." I was like, "Okay." And then you're like, "She was in Showgirls." I'm like, "I know. I've seen it." So, little backstory. Imagine yourself as a teenager
Right.
in the 90s who grew up watching Saved by the
Mhm.
Bell, and then finally you're able to get like a bootleg version of Showgirls on VH1 where everything's blurred out, but you're still watching that.
And we petitioned the television.
And then you're like, okay,
right?
so we've got Elizabeth Berkley, and then like, who the fuck is that? That's Gina Gershon. Oh, wow. You know? I mean, fuck.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's just like, imagine a 15-year-old watching Showgirls.
Yeah.
This is pre all the internet and everything.
And stuff, yeah.
This is, so there is, sorry, anybody that's getting offended, but there's a special place in my heart for Gina Gershon.
Right.
I was watching it because of Elizabeth Berkley, but then when
Elizabeth
Gina came, no, Showgirls.
Oh, Showgirls.
Elizabeth Berkley is from Jesse from Saved by the Bell.
Yep, I'm there now.
And then Gina Gershon was like, oh, fuck, what? I mean, this is like, I was imagining 2, but now there's 4.
Right.
So
that did hold a lot of special memories for a lot of people born in the 80s, I'm sure.
So anyways, we were talking about Elizabeth Shue in the waterfall, and I went off on my tangent there.
Right. But they're in the waterfall, and then they get down to business.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, fuck, I'll go. And she, like, pulls off one strap of her swimsuit.
Right.
And then Tom Cruise is like,
damn. And she's like, did you know you can't get pregnant in a waterfall? And he's like, the internet's not been invented yet, so I'm going to assume that's correct.
And then so she rips off all of her clothes and throws it.
Uh-huh.
And then so he
Which
pulls
is
off his
impractical.
and throws it, right? And then she jumps up, and what do you see? Like, I'd say 80% side boob.
Yeah.
Almost nipple.
Decent.
That's what everybody wants. I mean, because everybody grew up on and they saw Karate Kid. And they were like, oh, fuck. And then they watched this and they were like,
double oh fuck.
The only thing that would have made life better for these kids is if Elizabeth Shue would have been in Showgirls.
Oh, yeah.
That would have
the trifecta or
probably
something.
If that happened, all the problems in the world that are happening right now wouldn't be happening. I think it's Elizabeth Shue's fault.
Well, it's the casting director's fault. Because she wanted to be in it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So
that kind of reminds me of the TV show Schitt's Creek. It's really good.
Okay, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm gonna now.
It's really funny.
Unless it's like Portlandia. You told me to watch that, and I wanted to fucking kill myself.
You might hate this too. But the two main characters, the dad and mom of the show, they're walking down the road on Schitt's Creek.
When you're walking down the road.
But they're talking, and she's like, what if we jump in the water and have sex again? And then he's like, we haven't done that in 20 years. Like, what if we get caught or something? She's like, come on, let's live a little. And then he's like, okay, maybe this could be fun. And then he starts to undress, and then she gets a phone call, and she's like, you go and unrobe and get in the water. I'm going to take this phone call. I'll be right back. And then like 10 minutes later, she's like talking on the phone, walking down the road, and this like park ranger comes walking up with him. And then she's like, and he's like, is this your husband? And she's like, yes, officer, where did you find him? And he's like, he was naked in the creek. And then he's just sitting there, and he's like, I started to drown and I had to call him for help. And then he's like, I want to write him a ticket, but I'm out here on my day that I'm supposed to be working fishing, so I can't. So you're going to take him home, and this is never going to happen again. And she's like, I assure you, officer, this will never happen again.
And we're supposed to be fucking.
And he's sitting there all wrapped up in his towel. He's like, where were you? And she's like, I had a phone call, darling.
That would be me.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one time Carrie would answer her phone.
Right.
She's like, oh, fuck, hang on. Let's go fuck in the water. Oh, wait, hang on. It's so-and-so, whatever. I'll be like, okay. And then I'll be sitting there fucking hypothermia 2 hours later. Like, I'll be frozen. Died. But, you know, I would definitely freeze elongated. Like, I wouldn't, it would, if it's going to freeze, it's going to freeze flash freeze. It's not going to slow freeze, because slow freeze is no good. It's going to be a flash freeze.
Yeah, could you imagine freezing to death and they're like, look at this small motherfucker. Like, in my dying breath, I'm like, I want to pull this out a little bit. Fuck shrinkage.
Jesus.
So that is Schitt's Creek. Watch it. It's a really good show.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have sex in a waterfall, and then the next day,
this is where the $50 comes.
Dan is like, remember that $50?
Doug.
Oh, Doug. I said Dan. Doug's like, I'll bet
Dan's
you $50
cool too.
that you can't have sex with this other lady. And
he's like, why are you fucking going after that girl? She doesn't have any money. Get this fucking cougar over here, right?
And then he's like, all right. And he lights a match and throws it at her. And then all of a sudden they have sex.
And then she's like, fuck it, let's go.
Jesus Christ. You almost lit me on fire. Let's have sex. And then Elizabeth Shue sees him. And she's like, that bitch. And so she flies home. And then he's all sad.
Right.
So then he takes a job with her marketing firm because Cougar is rich. They fly back home to New York, and then he gets drunk and punches a fucking sculptor.
Right. Because he flies home with the cougar, and he's sleeping with her and whatever, and he's like, whatever, man, I'll just fucking get rich. But he's still sad.
Mm-hmm.
So then he goes and sees her at the restaurant, and she pours gravy on his head.
Yep.
And then he's like, well, what the fuck, man? And then he finds out that she's rich.
Mm.
She works at like a dive bar, not a dive bar, a dive restaurant.
Well, so sorry. Before that, I don't want to confuse. So he flies home with the cougar, and then he punches a sculptor, and he breaks up with her, and then he's all sad, and then he's like, I'm gonna go find Elizabeth Shue. So he walks over to where she works. She works at a diner, and then he's like, I'd like to order the waterfall special, and she's like, motherfucker, and then she pours some gravy on his head and leaves, and then someone's like, that's the richest girl in the country in that New York City, and he's like, what?
Right, and he's like, I don't recommend the special.
Right.
You know?
It's not a good meal.
And so then he's like...
I do recommend the waterfall, though.
So he goes and fucking breaks into the hotel, right? And he's like, I gotta talk to you.
Right.
And then she's like, well, you're a fucking dick. And he's like, look, they dared me. And whenever a man dares somebody else, you gotta take that dare, you know? And I was like, all I could think was, so here's Tom Cruise in the 80s. Here's what you have to do. You have to take your shirt off because you look fucking good. You have to be really dumb. Because I was thinking of Maverick also. I was like, yeah, he looked really fucking good in Maverick.
Right.
But he was really dumb because he had to graze the tower and he had to do all the shit. And Goose was like, don't fucking do that, man. And he still did it.
Still did it.
And then you're like, oh, well, Tom Cruise in Legend. He's like, well, we got to fucking, I guess, put light on this guy, you know? But I'll take my shirt off.
Right.
And then in Risky Business, he's like, well, I'll take my pants off, you know? So this is Tom Cruise. Be really dumb, take your shirt off, get the hot girl.
Yes.
And that's how it worked out.
It does work out for him, though.
You know? It drove me crazy because like, that was his argument. If a guy gives you a dare, you have to take it.
You have to do it.
No, that's not how the fucking real world works, you know?
But it does in Cocktail. But then he's like, well, I just got scared because...
Spooked.
I got spooked. And she's like, well, I'm going to spook you again. I'm pregnant. And he's like,
oh, fuck, I am spooked.
Fuck.
I mean, your dad was going to give me $10,000. I guess I'll take that.
Right. And then, yeah, her dad's like, I'm going to write you a check. And then he's like, fuck you. But then she like kicks him out. And then he leaves. And then
he goes to see Doug.
He goes to see Doug. And he's like, you got it all figured out, man. What's going on? And then he's like, I don't got shit figured out. It's all falling apart.
Because his hot girl that has the nice ass is kissing everybody and going around, you know, and I think he's depressed because he knows that she just picked him just to make her parents mad. And
he's not rich anymore. The IRS is coming to take everything.
Yeah, he squandered his money. And so they get drunk together.
In a boat.
Yep. Which is pretty cool. I mean, we've never been drunk on a boat together, but we could.
I don't even know if I've ever been drunk on a boat.
I know that I have not ever been drunk on a boat.
I want to.
We'll do that. We'll do a live. We should do a live shoot on a boat while getting drunk while people are playing at a casino.
Boats and hoes.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, he's like, hey Flanagan, let's go get drunk, and he goes down into the his boat, and he's like, look, man, I squandered everything away. I spent all my money. I didn't even know what taxes were.
He's like, I bought some commodities, but fuck it, you know.
He's like, they're coming to take it all away. And then he passes out. And then
he's like, don't tell Sweet Cheeks.
Right. Don't tell her. And so Tom Cruise drives her home, and then she's like, hey, walk me to my apartment. And he's like, no, I better check on me. And she's like, I get lonely. Walk me to my apartment. He's like, all right. And he walks her to his apartment, and then they start making out, and he's like, wait, this is wrong. So he's starting to learn.
Right.
So he's like, no, I can't do this. And she's like, you expect me to just
stay with this guy?
Stay with this guy forever? And he's like, well, fucking, you got married. Like, that's kind of the definition of it, but whatever. And he's like, no, I got to leave. And so he leaves. And then he's all kind of like fucked up on his emotions and stuff. And it's the next morning. He's like, I got to go tell Doug. And he goes down there. Doug's dead.
Right. And he goes finds Doug. And Doug took the brandy bottle and fucking
slit him up. He was done.
And so this was like also another eye opener for Tom Cruise, for Flanagan. He's like, fuck.
He's like, he thought he had it all together, but he really didn't. I gotta like get my life together.
So then he has to go run back to the hotel. Or I don't know. I didn't even fucking know. Is it a hotel or is it like a?
I think that they live in like a large.
Is it a condominium or? Because
it
there's
looks
a
like
doorman.
a hotel because there's like a bellhop and stuff, but it could be like a very nice apartment with like a concierge service. And
Yeah,
stuff.
because then he has to fucking punch that guy too. You know,
Punches
I mean,
the
there's a
fucking-
punching,
right.
and he breaks in.
Well, I
and,
think before that he goes home to see his uncle.
true. Because then he tells his uncle, "Look, uncle, I got some stuff to tell you."
Right, I'm a dad.
And then he's like, "Get the fuck out!"
I'm closing the fucking bar.
And then everybody's like,
Shit, I thought you never close this bitch.
and there's like 4 people there.
Right.
Like, well, fuck, where are we supposed to
We'll all
drink?
go home.
I guess I'll go buy a sixer from the fucking mini mart, you know?
Right. So, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be a dad, and he's like, well, shit, man, what are you gonna do? And he's like, be a dad, man.
Right.
And so he's like, okay. And so then he comes marching in, and he's like, I gotta talk to Elizabeth Shue. And they're like, well, she has a name in the movie. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. And then, and then he's like, all right, well, I'm leaving. Then he pulls a fucking
The old switcheroo.
the old switcheroo and runs into the elevator. He's like, fuck you, bitch.
That's called the rope-a-dope.
Yeah.
You know, he was watching Muhammad Ali. He's
He
like,
hit him
fuck,
with that
dodge,
rope-a-dope,
dodge,
yeah.
dodge, fucking slip. Yeah.
Yeah, he dodged like a butterfly, stung like a bee. I'm in this fucking elevator, bitch. And he flies up, and then like the bellhop answers. He's like, oh,
No, the butler.
the butler.
He was
He's
sitting
like,
there buttling.
Yeah, he was buttling. He's like, oh, it's nice to meet you, sir. And he fucking punches him right in the face. He's like, I got to see Elizabeth Shue. And she's over there. She's like, I'm carrying your fucking kid. And he's like, yeah, well, I love you.
I love you. And I know $50 is $50, but I
Mhm.
promise I won't do a $50 bet
Yeah.
anymore.
Bet me $50 that I'll marry you forever. And their dad's like trying to break in. He's like, this motherfucker is poor and we're rich. And then she's like, shut up, Dad.
He's got a big dick.
Right? And she's like, have you ever been fucked in a waterfall? And her dad's like, no.
No, but I froze in a river.
No, but it does sound luxurious. Her mom wasn't around. Maybe that's why.
They never did show her mom.
Huh.
Interesting.
People need to have sex in waterfalls more. Save more marriages.
That's true.
Can you imagine like the CEO of Waterfalls? They listen to this and they're like, fuck. We've got a whole like
Hawaii is like hitting their fucking keyboards.
Yeah.
Like, how many people can fucking waterfall before the water is contaminated and kills the fish? They've got
We could
IBM
save-
and
we
they've
could
got
save
Apple
10,000
and they've got
marriages a
Elon
year.
Musk over here. They're like, okay, so we can have 87,209 people fuck before 16 fish will die. So if they're gonna go in and fuck, they gotta hit this tabulature.
I don't know.
this button. Are you fucking? No. Okay, go ahead.
We'll go to Hawaii.
No more fucking in this waterfall because the fish.
Do you think you're going to get a divorce? Come to Hawaii and fuck in a waterfall. It may help.
I don't know. It might not.
That would be cool. I want to be that commercial
Actually,
guy.
it'd be Jamaica. They'd be like, fucking Jamaica,
Oh, yeah.
man. Jamaica fucking here. Jamaica fucking there.
Is your wife Jamaican divorce plans? Come fuck her in the waterfall.
Jamaican divorce.
Anyways,
Yeah.
and then like her dad's like, "You're gonna go with this bum," and she's like, "Fuck it, man, I love him." And they run off.
We fucked in a waterfall.
Right? And so then it's like fast forward, and he's made his bar.
Right. He worked out a plan with his uncle. And he saved some money
Yeah.
and stuff. And so he
He
made
his
Cocktail and Dreams.
Cocktail and Dreams bar. Yep. But he's like, "Hey, everybody, welcome. I got married and everything.
And then
and
he
I'm
had
gonna be
to
a father."
say another poem.
Yeah, and he does his father to be poem, like the last bartender poem and everything. And he's like, he does all this stuff, and he's like, "I promise never to get spooked again." And she's like, "I'll spook you right here." And she's like, and I even called it because I didn't see the movie either, and I was like, she's gonna have twins. See,
What if she was like, the kids are Daniel's sons?
right? They're actually Ralph Macchio's.
You ain't shit. You guys already did another movie together. You remember when he died?
You ever heard of a double waterfall? But she's like, "It's twins." He's like, "Oh fuck, I'm gonna have twins. Drinks on the house." And then his uncle's like, "What the fuck?" Like,
You know,
No, never give any drinks free to anybody. And then that's kind of just how it ends, you know?
Right? And then we move on.
And then they must probably have twins.
Then he fucking leaves and makes Mission Impossible movies. You know? So, well, I think that pretty much sums it up perfectly.
This might be one of the longest ones we've had for a while.
But it might be the best one.
yeah,
I've
we didn't
had a
talk
lot
about
of
the
fun.
movie for a while,
But then
but
we did.
it was really good.
So I have an idea for our next movie, and I think we've had some requests for this, and it might be one of the best movies from the 80s.
Oh, shit.
But it might be hard for us because I don't know.
Okay.
Do you want to know what it is?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to just throw it at you and say, hey, we're doing this?
Do it.
We are doing The Princess Bride.
Oh, shit.
You know what that is?
That's basically the 80s.